Okie dokie smoky. Hello, everybody out there in the wonderful world of Google Hangouts. Todd D here. Hopefully, everybody can hear me. Thumbs up, guys. Darren and Shane, can you hear me okay? Awesome, folks. Well, welcome again to Cross the Finish Line with IT Buyers, a Spiceworks Google Hangout event. And so we're glad everybody's here. I've got my panelists still kind of trickling in and getting their things ready. But again, welcome to the show, guys. My name's Todd DeRoca. I'm a marketing guy here at Spiceworks, or as my title says, a marketing whiz kid down there. And so a little bit about me so you understand kind of why I'm even here. I'm a demand gen marketer just like most of you who are watching us here today. So I work on our demand gen team here focused on helping marketers out, helping you guys out and getting you guys engaged and also creating awesome content for you guys to help with your everyday marketing day jobs. But I also used to be a demand gen marketer, and I just like you, where I was trying to get IT buyers to get a product. So I have empathy for what you guys are going through, and so today, hopefully we can give you guys some tips and tricks on how to help the IT buyers cross the finish line with your product, and we're going to do that by looking into our 2015 IT budget report data. So again, we've got a sports theme going on here. You can see this right here, the Spiceworks Sports Network. So welcome again, guys. So I've got a couple of awesome people here with me today. Let me do a quick thing here. Let me change this. I got to change the setting here. There we go. So I've got two IT pros who are going to be joining us for the conversation. I'm going to introduce first. Here's Darren. Hello, Darren. How you doing, sir?
Good. How you doing?
I'm doing great, man. Well, this is Darren, and so Darren is an IT manager with 3 years of experience. He's from Green Bay, Wisconsin. He works in the manufacturing industry for an SMB size. And so Darren is one of our IT pro champions here. Darren, why don't you show off your medal there for me? There you go. So he'll be talking with you guys a little about the data that we're seeing, but also giving some more insights into that data. All right, and we also got another IT pro here with us, and that is Shane. Hello, Shane. How you doing, sir?
I'm doing well. How about yourself?
I'm great, man. Thanks for asking. So Shane is an IT manager. He's got 6 years of IT experience. He's from Mountain View, California. He works in the software industry for a larger company. So again, both Darren and Shane are IT managers, so that means that they touch their IT budgets and hopefully can bring some great insights into how you marketers can, again, help them cross the finish line because there are some hurdles that we are seeing here inside the budget. Excuse me, inside the report. And then finally, we wanted to bring in a person just like you guys out there in the ether, and that is Kendall. She is from Fluke Networks. Hello, Kendall. How are you today?
Doing well. How are you?
I'm great. And you'll see Kendall has a green IT champion marketer medal on today because she is an awesome marketer here at Spiceworks. She is one of our champions, literally. She does a great job of engaging with the over 6 million IT buyers in the community. And so we wanted to bring her on to ask questions on behalf of you tech marketers, but also ask any of her questions and hopefully give advice to fellow marketers out there on how you guys can use the IT budget data in your marketing campaigns next. So again, without further ado, let's get into some numbers here, but also help you guys help your marketing campaigns. So again, this is a Google Hangout, so we're going to make this pretty interactive and fun. So if you guys have a question for any of the IT buyers, for Shane or Darren, or for Kendall herself, feel free to tweet those in using the hashtag ITBudgets. And so use that hashtag, and 2 lucky tech marketers are going to win some cool swag, some Spiceworks running hats. So we'll be giving those out to 2 marketers. So again, tweet those in there. And we'll get you that prize pack. Okay, so let's look quickly at the IT budget report here. I'm going to share my screen here so you guys can look at it at a glance. Let's see. Boom. All right. So we're going to look at this IT budget, and one of the things that we are seeing in the IT budget this year is the main theme is that IT pros are doing more with less money, and many of their budgets are staying static. So I want to pull up this graph here, and this is the IT budget change from 2014 to 2015. You can see that there's been at least 44% of the total IT pros surveyed in our report here. They have no change in their budget. Now, we have seen the increase for the 33% of the IT pros, but again, there's that 44% chunk that you as IT marketers are going to have to find a way to help IT pros get over those hurdles. So luckily enough for us, we again have two IT buyers here with us, and they're actually in that 33% where their IT budgets have increased. But I want to bring in a quick quote from an IT pro inside the report. His name's Kevin. His username in the community is Kevin9448. He's from Massachusetts. And I asked him, hey, Kevin, your budget, has it stayed static, and why has that happened? And so he says, our IT budget here isn't done in the typical fashion. I create a budget for our fixed costs, like hosted services, internet, X amount of computers that needed to be replaced, etc., and that stayed flat. But for projects, I'm not given a certain number of dollars for that, and then I have to fit into my budget. Rather, the upper management will approve it on a case-by-case basis. So I think the good news there, Kendall, for marketers like yourself, is to know that, yeah, they have a flat cost right now, but there may be some of those special projects that they can get approved from their management. But Kendall, I do want to pop over to you, and knowing that the IT budgets are staying static, as a marketer, what kind of goes through your head, and what kind of things do you have to think about now?
Yeah, so for us, that's always a little bit nerve-wracking. With steady budgets means that there's less projects that the IT folks are going to be able to get through, that they need to get through. So I think for us, it always comes down to learning what best fits each person's needs. So it becomes less about selling a product and more about making sure that each person that we talk to has exactly what they need and nothing more, because we know that it's tight for you. So we have to work harder to provide you with a better idea of what exactly you need for your environment.
Okay, cool. And so, Kendall, let me ask you this. So, has your marketing campaign changed since you've seen the data? Like, did you have to do a quick zig and zag, or is it business as usual for your marketing stuff?
I think it's a mixture of both. I think knowing that budgets are flat and having some of this data definitely inspired some internal conversation with us as far as how to change what we're doing. But this was sort of the direction that we were headed anyways. Our intuition, I guess, from a marketing perspective was that it wasn't going to necessarily be a huge year for IT budgets. So this is something that we've sort of been rolling into for a while.
Okay, great. So again, we're talking about IT budgets here, and again, most of the IT budgets are staying flat. And so one stat that we've seen of why these budgets have been staying flat is because organizations' revenues have also stayed flat year over year, only increasing by 57%, and that's the same amount they were last year. So that could also help us understand why those IT budgets may be staying flat. But now I want to go over to, let's go to Shane here. Shane, now your IT budget has actually increased, is that correct?
That's correct, yes.
So do you have any guesses, though, of why your other IT pro buddies, why their budgets may be staying flat? Is it just because cost of equipment is so high, or is it because of the whole Windows Server that there's a lot more budgetary costs now that need to be focused on just certain pockets?
I think it's a few things. I mean, you have the big trend moving to cloud, and those things are fixed monthly rates, so thus you get fixed yearly rates. And the reason ours is increasing is because our user base is increasing, so there's a direct correlation between users and cost typically. So in companies that more or less stay the same, which is the majority of companies, a lot of my colleagues, they have had the same amount of users for a long time, so their budgets, once they kind of work out the kinks and they figure out what they're doing, rarely is there a big change that goes ahead and switches it to something else that is an unknown cost or a larger cost.
Got it. And so Shane, let's talk about your budget now. Your budget has seen an increase, and so why has you're saying the user base has increased. So what do you do now with that new budget? Are there things that you can have a little fun with, or is it basically, again, fixed costs that you're going to have to get and there's really no wiggle room for you there?
It's a little bit of both. So again, with cloud services, you have per user cost increasing. 100 users versus 120. 120 costs more. But also with a growing user base, you get to implement new things, and you get to kind of fill in the gaps that are created just by having more users. Or a year before last, we increased to a second floor, so we had costs associated with additional networking equipment, additional desk equipment, dock stations, monitors, that sort of stuff. So it's kind of a mixture of both. And this year, especially, we're seeing more money being spent on, like I said, just trying to make sure that the larger amount of people are getting the same experience, where it's a little bit easier to do that, without money for a smaller number of folks.
And so, Shane, let me ask you this for the other marketers out there. So knowing that you have new users, is this a chance for you to change the type of products you use, or will you stay with the same product over and over again just because you know it well?
It depends. So if you're talking servers and hardware, it's really difficult to change once you're sort of baked in over. In our case, the company's been around about 7 years, and we've been an all Dell shop. So trying to switch from, say, Dell servers to HP servers after we have all this stuff sort of built up over time, that'll be difficult. As far as software or cloud services, that's a whole lot easier to change. For instance, recently we just switched our file sharing service. We were using a Dropbox account, and then late last year we went ahead and switched that to a service called Ignite, just for our growing needs and to have a little bit more of a comprehensive solution that'll grow with us.
Okay, got it. I want to go over and go to Shane, or Darren, excuse me here. Darren, your budget has also increased. So again, can you give us a quick glimpse of to why that budget increased, and what are you going to be spending? Where are your dollars going to be spent mostly on, or what are your dollars going to be spent mostly on?
For me, being with the SMB market, when I started with the company had no so it's constantly been, my budget's been growing, but not at a huge clip to, I guess, trying to transition away. They used to use a consulting company. I still work with them as an emergency purpose or for big projects that we're doing, but a lot of it is that user-based, like Shane was saying, that as this company is growing, which every year we have seen growth in it and changes in it, has driven the changes in IT. Not a lot of big software changes, but like this year we're planning a big server upgrade and replacement, which has never really been done with the company. Bringing those kind of things into the company, I'm slowly trying to implement with the company and with my budgeting that type of computer replacement program. Before, they've been doing it kind of as needed, and when a computer really starts having issues, that's when it gets replaced. Now I'm starting to actually implement as the computer gets older, those kind of things. So it's been a growth process. As myself growing with the company and the company growing in general, to give the company some type of IT footing. There has been things that I proposed, and we live a lot off of with big projects, proposing those at the beginning of the year, to have that decision, like you were saying with that quote, is the upper management gets that final say, at the beginning of the year, is this thing going to happen, is it not? And then we also have our incidental things that as we're going through the year, we see, maybe the software is right for the company because of the growth of the company.
Got it. And so, Darren, real quick question then for you. So how closely, are you the final recommender on the IT budget, or do you sign off on that budget? So, where is your placement in the whole purchase process for the last decision?
Well, I've created the IT budget. Before me, it was just kind of going off a percentage of sales. From then, I make the suggestions. And then the final say is to my boss, who is the controller for the company, and the management team of the company in general. So it's me, then them to finally sign off on any IT purchases. But yes, I'm the one that recommends those purchases to the management team.
Okay, I want to flip over to Shane over here. Shane, when you are looking at your IT budget and deciding what products to spend on, at what point do you begin to look for a tech vendor to get more information or to at least say, let's go ahead and talk. We've seen statistics that say, 90% of your research is already done before you even talk to a tech marketer or tech vendor. But for you, is that true, or do you do your research, or can they contact you way earlier on in your decision process?
I would say that's partially true. Rarely does an IT pro, we're pretty self-sufficient and we like to do research and we like to understand things. That's part of the nature of the job. So typically when we're talking to someone or engaging with someone, we have a basic understanding and we're at a point where we can't get any more knowledge based on the research we're doing on ourselves through the website or through even Spiceworks. I leverage Spiceworks a lot just to ask questions about vendors and people's previous experiences. But like I said, once you get to a point where you identify a gap and you're maybe narrowed it down to say 2 to 3 folks that you might want to purchase a product that actually solves the problem at hand, then that's in my case typically where I engage. I go ahead and reach out and say, so can I get more information about this, or I would like to see a demo of the administrative side of this, just to get, like I said, that additional information that's a little more difficult to get through the traditional means.
Okay, great. So again, for those of you, thanks for that, Shane, there. For those of you who may be joining us just right now, again, welcome to the Google Hangout. I've got 2 IT pros on the line here with us. We've got Shane and Darren. And also I've got a great tech marketer just like yourselves, Kendall from Fluke Networks. And so we're asking our IT pros right now kind of where they see themselves and you as tech marketers in that purchase cycle, that purchase path. And so, again, if you have questions for the IT pros or Kendall, the tech marketer, feel free to use the hashtag ITBudgets, and we will get those questions asked. Remember, we are giving out to 2 lucky winners some awesome swag. So we got some Spiceworks running caps here for you. Do they even say running caps? I don't know. It sounds very British to me. It's kind of weird. Sorry. So anyways.
They're really fancy caps.
Yeah. Yeah. All right. So let's go ahead and continue down the road here. I want to show another a stat from our IT budget report as I pull this up here. Bear with me. So this one is kind of interesting. This kind of goes into the allocation of that budget. Again, we talked about how 44% of IT bros, it's a bros, man, IT pros budgets are staying static and 33% are increasing, but where are they spending most of those dollars? And so from this graph here, we see that 41% of the IT budget is going to hardware projects. That's similar to last year. Hardware led the pack. And then we've got software projects coming in second place, followed by hosted cloud-based services, and then managed service projects. So the next thing that I definitely want to talk about, knowing that we've got hardware as our first big one here in the budget, let's go ahead and talk about hardware. One of the big things that the IT pros are going on this year is the fact that they've got to replace some servers. Windows servers are going to be EOL here very soon. So I want to go ahead and ask, I think, Darren, you were the one saying you are switching out some servers here. Is that correct?
Yeah, we're doing a server upgrade. The one we have is a few years old and needs to be upgraded. It is not Server 2003. We've kind of moved past that already. We're sitting with 2008, but the hardware that it's actually running on needs a little bit of an upgrade is what we're focusing on this year. Getting some more RAM in there, hard drives, newer processors.
Okay. Got it. Sorry if there's an echo out there, folks. I think we got some speaker issues, but IT pros and Kendall, if you guys have headphones, if you could put those on, but if not, no worries there. We'll see if we can't kill that echo there. So let's get back. So Darren, let me ask you then on the servers. When you have to replace hardware, does that mean that you have to do an upgrade of software as well? Is it a domino effect at the end of the day for you?
Not really, because what we're doing with our server upgrade is we're upgrading at our current facility here, and then the old server is going over to our sister company, which is only a couple years old. The advantage the old server will get is that it'll be transitioned to server 2012, just to get it up on that operating system. But the current ones that are in place, because it's all virtual, will stay their current operating systems with the Server 2008 versions, just to be able to migrate those to the new platform. And also in that, we have a very antiquated VMware software I mean, we won't be upgrading that, but actually not what, like our licensing or anything with VMware, but it'll be an upgrade versus versions with versions. So.
Okay. Shane, for you, same question. Have you guys already updated your servers? Are you in the middle of that process?
So as far as migrating from 2003 to 2008, that's almost entirely done. We have one straggling server, but it's a virtual machine, and it's just a matter of moving the services over. We actually have the new VM already set up. As far as the hardware question, we are at a place right now where we are trying to expand again because we're growing. So we're trying to just make a more robust architecture for our servers. So though we're not replacing them, we're trying to add to and add redundancy both at the host level as well as at different sites that we have.
Okay, so Shane, my question now to you is, what things do you consider, or what things do marketers need to make sure they give you to help you make the decision to get their new server or the new software that you're looking for? What are the 3 key things that you're like, you got to show me this, this, and this?
Support's always really huge with IT pros. If you don't feel like you're going to have that support after sale, whether that be through a support team or a customer success portal or whatever, it's very difficult to make that investment because, especially with hardware, you're typically stuck 3 to 5, sometimes a little bit longer with whatever this is, and though sometimes you have to purchase support with it, without having those resources, it's very difficult to feel confident in the decision you're making because you're sort of making your bet at that point, and you want to be confident. The other thing is huge, at least for me anyways, is if there is some type of online resource or community or something where it's more casual, where you can have a talk with. One of the things we bought a couple years ago was an appliance called Bomgar, and they had a great online community, and that was a huge selling point for me because I felt like, okay, even if it's not a support resource that I'm missing, just having someone that is also using the product that I can have some type of interaction with and speak with as well. And to be honest, that's sort of one of the reasons why Spiceworks is huge. Even if they don't have their own community, having a presence in Spiceworks, just kind of adds that confidence. Finally, just sort of being human, to know that if I have a problem 6 months later, I can call the same contact person and speak with them and have a conversation and feel like they're on my team versus trying to sell it and get it out the door and not want to deal with the sale anymore. That's also pretty big for me, just to feel like there's that connection with the marketer or the salesperson or whomever I'm engaging with.
Right. And so speaking of humans and human marketing, we've got Kendall here. Kendall, I'm going to go to you now. Do you have any questions here for the IT pros that you want to ask them on behalf of the tech marketers or yourself?
Yeah. I definitely had a follow-up question based on what was just said as far as the communities go. So as a marketer, there are so many communities that we can be a part of, and we love to be a part of them all, but we have to sometimes be selective about where we're spending our time. So I was sort of interested in some of the vendors that you're working with that might be hosting their own communities. Do you prefer to have, so for example, if Fluke Networks were to set up their own community for all of our customers, do you prefer going to like a vendor specific thing where you get that really targeted information about a vendor and their products, or do you prefer to go to more general communities where there's still a vendor there and you can still have that interaction with the brand and the users, but might be a little bit more broad?
So let's go to Shane first on that one. Shane, what's your answer to her since you brought up the community?
Yeah, no, totally. So you have to do it well. There's been quite a few times where I've started engaging with a vendor and they have put up their own community, and I understand it's difficult, I understand it's a lot of effort, and if it's not done well, it sort of has the opposite effect where it's turn off and you don't want to be necessarily engaged with it because you don't feel like it's done well. I don't have a preference whether it's their community, as in something that the company themselves stood up, or if it's something like Spiceworks where they're leveraging another community. It's sort of more of a matter of having a presence, having that person-to-person interaction, as well as having a place where you can interact with other people that use the same products. When in IT, getting information from colleagues, especially for me, has been a huge help, and you sort of get the experience without having to make the mistakes, and you can kind of get a little bit further along much quicker having a community. So I know that's really not the answer to your question, but it doesn't really matter. Just do it well. Whatever you do it well.
No, that's so helpful.
Good question, Kendall. And again, if you guys have questions out there in the World Wide Web is watching us, feel free to use the hashtag IT budgets, and we'll get that question asked to the IT pros. We're talking about how to help IT pros get over that finish line, cross the finish line with tech marketers. Kendall, I want to go back to you here. Are there any tricks or best practices that you've learned since you are a social community manager for Fluke Networks, but also a great green gal in Spiceworks, that you've kind of learned that have helped you, get that IT buyer across the finish line or closer to the finish line for your product?
Yeah, absolutely. I think more than anything, it's just providing the right information. And the thing about what Fluke Networks does is we provide products for people to test their networks. So our customers have a variety of infrastructures. Like the range of our clients is huge. So for me, it's really figuring out exactly what their problem is and then determining how we can best help them solve it. And it's more so about gathering that information, making sure that you understand exactly what their problem is before you recommend a solution. I would say that's probably the biggest thing you can do to have that effect.
Right. I think, too, Kendall's right here. I think the right information, but I think it's also the right information at the right time in that purchase process. So, Darren, I want to ask you quickly, since you're still, trying to small migrations here of your servers, at this point in your purchasing phase, what type of content would you like a marketer to serve up to you, knowing that knowing number one, you're going to need a new server here, and knowing number two, you've got the money to do it. What kind of content would you like for them to serve up that'll help you cross that finish line with them? Is it a webinar? Is it a white paper? Is it a community post? What kind of things do you look for?
With being myself, I'm a one-man shop in that fact, in IT, looking at things. So I want, I don't have a specific way I want to get the information, but I have to say though, I want it clear, concise, to a point, short and sweet, because unfortunately I don't have the time in my day to be that person that's doing like all sorts of research and spending, time doing that. I'm not saying everybody does do that, but I want to have it, clear, concise. I'd rather have a conversation about it, get the details, and then maybe get that detailed document, whatever it may be, sent to me. But I enjoy talking to somebody face to face where I can ask those clear questions that I might have, or whether it be face to face, online, phone call, whatever it may be. Ask those questions, get those answers, and then if it needs to be expanded further, getting that document and reviewing it when I have time, that goes to that short and sweet to a point for me.
Got it. So I want to ask, let's get back to some numbers here. Again, we're seeing that hardware is leading the pack for where you guys are spending most of your IT budgets. My question now is, just in the grand scheme of things, we're seeing that there's a lot of mobile devices. There's always mobile, there's smaller tablets, all these things, but it sounds like you guys are spending more money on the desktops. So I guess my question is, why is that? Why are we spending more money on desktops than these smaller tablets and laptops? So Shane, do you have any insights into why IT pros may be spending more on the desktop versus those more compact items?
Well, most mobile devices are brought in by the users themselves. So, everyone has their iPhones or their Android phones, and they walk into the office, and it's not so much a matter of budgeting for that, but preparing to, in some level, support those devices. So can I get email on my phone? Can I, get on the Wi-Fi when I'm in the office? Can I do this? Can I get access to the file sharing services? Whatever it may be. So at least in our case, the reason that we spend more, and we don't buy desktops, we're like a laptop pretty much only shop, but we spend money there because folks rarely come in and say, hey, I have my own laptop, and to be honest, I'm not sure I would even be okay with that. So we sort of just give them the company machine, Mac, Dell, whatever it is, and then it's just a matter of supporting whatever their mobile device that they're using is. Occasionally, you buy things for specific purposes, tablets and mobile devices, and for testing and that sort of stuff. But it's really a big thing for us. We don't want everyone has a phone these days, so though maybe 5 years ago or especially 10 years ago, buying a phone phone for an employee was a good thing because people didn't necessarily have them. Now it's sort of redundant, and people don't want to carry around two phones. And
Right.
I worked at a company that did that, and it was more of a pain than anything else because people still wanted to use their personal devices to check email. So you were supporting double the devices. So
Right.
we sort of made a policy of just trying to support those versus purchasing them for the user.
Cool. All right, so let's go ahead and keep the convo moving here. We're going to go ahead and switch over. Let me switch a slide. We're going to move over to the next big purchase bucket for you IT pros out there, and that is for software. And so when it comes to software, that's the second highest rated, highest ranking budget item. OS purchases came in at number 1 in the software investment average, and that took over productivity from last year. So at this point, I want to ask a question let's stay with, whoops, switch that out, didn't I? Black screen of death. Let's go ahead and keep it on Shane here. Shane, what kind of software products are you looking at this year? Again, let's see are there packages that tech marketers can create, knowing that you still have some servers or some hardware issue? I guess the question is, can marketers package software and hardware together and kind of upsell or cross-sell to you, or do you still want them completely separate?
Well, having an appliance is great. The hardware's expensive. That's, the budget shows that. But then also you have software, which can be expensive as well. So if there is a financial benefit to getting a physical appliance in versus buying a hardware and trying to run a VMware version of it, then there are cases where that makes sense. We've done that a couple things. We have a patch management appliance that we purchased, and then I mentioned BombGuard before. That's a remote support appliance that we've put in versus deciding to go cloud or whatever else. And the benefit was cost over time for us, anyways, as well as just the security that comes with doing something in-house versus in the cloud. And kind of pre-packaging it up made it real easy for us to set up, real easy for us to learn it, and then real easy for us to continue using it forward. So there are definitely cases where that makes sense. As far as certain other things, it might not, but I'm a fan of appliances. I'm a fan of virtual appliances, so bundling things is great if there's a cost benefit, as well as there is the sort of a setup and administration benefit as well.
Okay. I want to ask this one now to Kendall, do you have any questions yet for the IT pros? I keep on kind of glossing over. Do you have any questions yet that you want to ask them at this point?
No, I do have one question about software in general, but it was something that sort of came up in the report that sort of piqued my curiosity, I guess. It said somewhere in there, one of the charts had a little thing about what software is most important to you, and Sales CRM was in there, but it also was the highest non-applicable software to most of the businesses. So I was curious as to whether that comes from either a sales CRM service not being something that IT manages, or is that just something that's not important to your business?
It's a good question. Let me Shane or Darren, which one of you guys feel comfortable answering that one? Because I don't want to spin that over.
I think to a point I could go ahead and answer that for you, Shane, or for you. Just putting out our company with its growth. We just recently hired a sales and marketing director, and she has been doing a lot of looking into like the CRM type software, and I think it's kind of driven by the fact of having like a sales force that needs that type of software. I think is what kind of is driving that for us. I mean, that's why a lot of our decisions, big software-wise right now, is getting driven in our company at least, is by departments needing the software, and that's why we started looking at a software like that. Not so much from my standpoint, I've started looking at it with her, but yet for that management ability, but I don't know a lot about it, so I think it is key to have somebody who has that kind of knowledge to want a software like that.
Yeah, in my experience, the sales team typically is the one that is pushing for whatever tool they like or have used or want to use. At IT pros, we don't use that type of software typically, like you said, so we don't, we're not deep experts in those tools. So typically the sales team will work in it, but it's not necessarily just for the sales team. And you said that it was really kind of like not applicable to the rest of the company. In our situation and in situations I've seen in the past, it's usually mostly used by the sales team, but it's also a source of truth that the rest of the company relies on for a customer base, which is why the company's willing to spend so much money on it, and then also just having the sales team pushing for it, which those are the guys that make the money. So they tend to get to spend a little bit more money right up front.
So as a follow-up for both of you then, when we talk about these sort of like managed applications that might be driven by departments outside of IT, whether that's a sales CRM or social media management tool, whatever it is, whatever department it is that still something that you guys as IT help them sort of manage, or is that something that sort of is department driven?
Let's go with Shane on that one. Let's stay with you, Shane.
Sure. So for us, anyways, we try and approach the organization as if we're like a business for the business. We want to be the service provider. So in our situation, when you're talking about software that may be driven or like initially sparked by another department, we definitely want to be involved. We definitely want to be a part of the process, and more so than anything else, we want to do things the right way and not have us bite us later. So sales CRMs, there's marketing tools out there, there's our training team has things that are specific to them. That's all fine. We want to be the resource that can help them with it. So we're trying to get involved in administration, knowing what information needs to be there, though we might not be the final say on purchase for things outside of IT. So like you said, like a sales CRM, we are definitely the ones that try to be the resource for it, as well as making sure things are done appropriately, even from just like a security point of view. As far as tracking, those type of things are typically forgotten if another department's running it or managing it, I should say. So having us administer it, at least to some degree, even if they can still technically add users or whatever it may be, is fine. We just want to be part of the process.
Great, thanks.
Good insights there. Again, if you guys have questions out in the World Wide Web, there, feel free to send those in, tweet those in to us. #ITBudgets. We've got a nice little kudos to Fluke Networks from Richard Keating. So Cajun Geek, thanks for saying hello. I have a question here for let's go back to Shane here. When you guys are looking at new software upgrades, are you guys looking? Does that mean that IT Pro is looking more? Let me rephrase this question because I had a brain fart here. With the new software you guys have already purchased, does that mean that IT pros are looking for more upgrades or new licenses?
It's probably a bit of both. More licenses for a growing user base, absolutely. If you have a static user base, especially if it's something for just a single department, upgrading to newer software is a big thing. I know a lot of software, they offer support licenses that you can purchase for, say, a duration of 3 to 5 years, and in those time you get the free upgrades, and I'm a big fan of that. I think that's great because getting the newest software with the bug fixes that works on the newest OSs, those are great for me. So I definitely think it's a mixture of both, depending on what you're looking for.
Darren, your thoughts on that?
I kind of agree with Shane on what he said. With that is it is both of those. It's balancing that. I agree totally.
Okay, great. And so Darren, I want to stay with you here. So what type of features, if a tech marketer, again, we're going to try to help them cross the finish line with you guys. If a tech marketer puts up an ad or a webinar or a white paper, what are the type of features that you want to see that they can offer you for you to be like, yep, that's the new upgrade I want, that's the license I want? Are there key things that you want to see in their marketing that will help you cross that finish line with them?
From an IT standpoint, I think, Shane mentioned it earlier when we were talking about hardware too, is that support feature. With being, coming from a smaller company, me being, again, not to emphasize it, but be by myself, I've got to have those support tools available and very easily accessed when we have issues or when we're looking at it. So looking from a support standpoint, I really want like a software or a hardware or whatever it may be to really have that good support base for me to reach out to and to be able to get the answers easy to my questions, whether it be and that's the setup like a community or one-on-one support, like somebody specifically I talk to, whenever I call in, those kind of things. I really want to see that put out there as an emphasis from an IT standpoint, not only just demonstrating and showing the software or hardware or whatever in general, but I also really want to see to cater to me to that point is showing that support side, so I know exactly what I'm getting into, software, hardware, whatever it may be.
Okay, great. So we got just a couple more minutes here, and I want to give the floor now over to Kendall from Fluke Networks. Again, Kendall is a green guy champion in our community here at Spiceworks of 6 million IT pros. She really understands how to connect with IT buyers, so that's why we brought her on here. But I want to call this segment the Tech Marketer Talkback. And again, Kendall, I'm going to open it up to you now to ask any question that you may have for the IT pros, whether it's from today's conversation, the IT budget report that we've got, or even just general tech marketing questions that you have for them. And Darren and Shane, I'll kind of try to facilitate which one of you will answer those questions. But Kendall, I'm going to hand it over to you now at this point.
Awesome. So one of the questions that I have, just sort of personally and selfishly, with Fluke Networks.
Go Fluke Networks.
We obviously sort of help a lot with troubleshooting and helping fix your network problems. So when those types of problems come up, do you try and take a more proactive approach and use monitoring tools to help sort of stop those problems before they become problems, or do you normally find yourself in a more reactive troubleshooting approach after someone complains about bandwidth issues or whatever?
Let's go with Shane on this one. Shane, thoughts?
Proactive is always better. It's better not to have problems or to prevent them before they happen. I think that's an attitude that every IT professional takes if possible. That being said, it's also impossible to make no problems happen. So having some type of tool set that would not only allow you to monitor, but maybe have that sort of historic information to be able to better identify the problem or quickly come to a point of resolution is sort of what I would say.
Okay.
Great.
Kendall, I'm going to let you ask one more question here. We're coming up on the hour mark here. So what's one last question there for the IT pros?
My last question is, when you look at your budget breakout for this next year, how much of it do you see, percentage-wise, I guess, is set for end user needs versus sort of what your end user needs maybe out of bandwidth if your company is growing or new devices or whatever? How much of it is end user needs versus what IT needs to keep their department running?
Let's go with Darren on this one. Darren, thoughts?
I'd have to say it's at least 75% driven for me, especially because a lot of the focus is on the user growth for the company. The only thing that, like, with moving into 2015 here, is that I changed was our backup infrastructure, switching to a new program to be able to save some money. But overall, in the fact of it, I'd probably say at least 75% of it is to help our end users. Even the server upgrade is mainly to make the virtual machines running better so our end users can access the data quicker, easier, more readily available. So it's, we're not spending a lot of money on true, like, just IT things, except for that backup infrastructure, changing that up just a little bit. But overall, that's the focus, is the end user. And so, like I said, I'd say at least 75% of our budget is that way.
Cool.
Right.
All right. Well, Kendall, thanks for the questions here. And we've got one more minute, so what I'm going to do is I had this cool slide made, and I'm going to show it, but it's not going to take me this long. But we're going to do a 3-minute drill, but I'm going to cut it down to a 1-minute drill because we're going to be, running across the finish line literally here. So this is where I'm going to go ahead and give you guys the top 3 takeaways from the Hangout today that we kind of heard from our IT pros, Darren and Shane. And so if there's anything you want to take away from this Hangout, it's these top 3 things. So number 1, 90% of their research before they buy a product or before they even contact you, the tech vendor, is already done. So when they get to the point of contacting you, that means they're pretty interested and they're wanting some more real clear information. So more than just what you're putting out there, they're contacting you to get that real nitty-gritty technical stuff. So again, see if you can't, get your awareness and engagement prior to them calling you, because again, most of their decision is already made up before they call you. The number 2 thing that I heard here was the right info at the right time. On the purchase path here, before they cross the finish line, as a tech marketer, make sure you're giving them the right info. Kendall from Fluke Networks, our tech marketer here, kind of said that's one of her best practices, is making sure it's the right info. And I'm going to add on to that saying make sure it's at the right time. So if a webinar may not be the best thing to give them at the very top part of their race here, it may be closer to the end, or an email campaign may not be great for the top end of the funnel, but more the middle. So again, the right info at the right time. And the last thing that I heard that sounded was a big resounding, make sure you do this, is give them support for your product. After that sale, the sale isn't over. So make sure you offer them some type of support, whether that be a community or direct contact for you, or even better yet, the Spiceworks community where you can be a part of. You can give them that support that they're looking for. So again, those are my top 3 takeaways from this Google Hangout, and we are at that mark here. So I want to get everyone back to their day, but I want to say thank you so much for all those viewers out there who watched us. I'll let you know who won our swag hats here, our Spiceworks running hats, running caps, whatever you want to call them. I'll let you guys know that in the tech marketing group of Spiceworks.com. So if you're not already there, just go in there and just search for Tech Marketing Group. Kendall's a part of that group, and we'll tell you who those winners are. But again, a massive thank you to Darren. Darren, thank you so much, sir. Appreciate the time. Shane, big props to you as well. And finally, our Tech Marketer Ambassador, Miss Kendall from Fluke Networks. Again, thanks everybody for joining us. You will get a recording here in just a couple of days, so watch for that follow-up email. So from all of us here at Spiceworks and for my panel, I'm Todd Roca, guys. Thanks so much for coming. We'll see you next time.